A girl is Arya Stark of Winterfell. And I'm going home.
Hey everybody, let's talk about Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 7, No One. This was an interesting episode. It's been accused of being mainly filler, and there's a lot to talk about, but I'm going to make this one pretty brief. Let's first talk about the Riverlands. It seemed to me, and I said this before, to bring back Walder Frey and Edmure Tully, and that whole situation. After so long, I was almost kind of didn't care anymore. I mean, I wanted revenge after the Red Wedding, and I didn't get it. And now to come back years later and say, "Hey, did you still want Walder Frey dead?" It's like, well, yeah, I do, but I don't understand why they spent so much time there. I mean, in terms of world building, it's great, but what was the end result? I mean, is Jaime Lannister going to march north to help the Starks? Unlikely. It seemed as if, with his time with Brienne, he had actually turned a corner and he was becoming a better person, but he basically saying he's going to catapult a baby into the side of the castle to get back to Cersei. It's just, I don't know that his character has really progressed at all. I had been defending Jaime on social media a little bit, trying to explain to people how he has progressed as a character and how he lost all that, cocksure bravado that he had in Season 1 when he challenged Ned Stark in the streets of King's Landing. But even coming face to face with Brienne again, it seems like he has a soft spot for her, saying that she can keep that sword. And there's only a handful of Valyrian steel swords in the world, and I think that her taking that north is going to come into play at some point against the White Walkers. But for now, it was a nice character moment for them to come back together again. I also really liked the scene between Bronn and Podrick. That was cool as well. Those two characters haven't seen each other in a long time, but I don't know, to have the Blackfish killed off screen and to not have the Tully army go north, I mean, what was the point? I figured that Edmure said to Jaime, let's make a deal. I'll let you have this castle, I'm going to go north and, go help Sansa. Although I don't even know if he knew about that. But you think that the Blackfish could have kind of at least made that deal, said, okay, look, instead of throwing his life away, we've lost River Run, but at the very least we can go help Sansa take back Winterfell, and then we have the Tully army marching against the Boltons. I've heard the rumor that Jaime's going to march his army north and help Sansa. I don't understand why. I think the only thing he did there to help is that he let Brienne go. He could have easily killed her or had her captured or whatever, but he let her go, and he even waves to her with his gold hand, gold-plated hand. So I think having the Blackfish killed off screen was not a good decision. I think having that sort of whole arc come in for 3 episodes to be resolved kind of as a letdown. I mean, there was no big battle, there was no big siege. It was almost kind of like, what's the point? Like, what does that have to do with the larger story? Again, it was a nice, character moment, a nice bit of world building. I mean, there are things happening in Westeros other than the main kind of 3 conflicts. So it was nice to get that wrapped up, but we should have had this wrapped up like 2 years ago. The other bit, of course, Cersei. Tommen has outlawed trial by combat, which was her ace in the hole. So now what is she going to do? I mean, Tommen has completely turned on her, and I was wondering last night, like, what was the moment when he turned on her? It was obviously when the High Sparrow was whispering in her ear, but it is unfortunate because losing Tommen as an ally, I mean, she's basically done. She should see if going back to Casterly Rock is still even an option, but I don't think it even is for her. She's been completely cast out by everyone, and her only friends that she has left, is Jaime and Master Qyburn, and of course the Mountain. So speaking of the Mountain, let's talk about the Hound. And he is apparently throwing in with the Brotherhood without banners. We are not going to see Lady Stoneheart, which I was pretty disappointed. When they said, we're really doing something here, I thought she was going to come up out of the lake. When there was that scene of the Hound, peeing in the lake, I thought we were going to see Lady Stoneheart come up right out of the water. But no, it didn't happen, which is disappointing. I think HBO is crying that they don't have enough material, to sustain even 2 more seasons. So put some of the stuff you cut out of the books into the show and, at least give us 2 full seasons. Seasons 7 and 8 should be 10 episodes each, but I'm hearing that they won't be. So I think HBO is kicking themselves in the ass now for cutting so much out, from the books. But the Hound back, he's going to be killing again. I don't know how Brotherhood Without Banners is going to factor into the main storyline. If they're marching north, how many guys do they have? Like 5 guys? I don't know. It was good to see Beric Dondarrion again and Thoros of Myr. I had to explain to my dad who they were because he missed, season 3. So I had to kind of catch him up, and I said, that guy with the eye patch is the reason that everyone believed they could bring back Jon Snow, because it's that red magic, I guess I'll call it, the Lord of Light. Tyrion, very, very shrewd in Meereen, using the red priestesses and red priests to spread the word of Daenerys. It's good. He's very, very shrewd with politics, of course, and also with working with people. I thought it was very strange that the slave masters would just outright attack Meereen with their ships. When I saw the ships, I thought for a second it was the Greyjoy fleet. Well, Yara's part of it anyway, but it wasn't. And we finally have Mother of Dragons come back. The little thump on the roof, and people were looking up last week. We thought that would be Drogon landing on the roof, but it was not. It was the catapult, sort of cannon fire from the ships hitting the Great Pyramid. But the Mother of Dragons is back. She doesn't say anything. We see Drogon in the distance. Why couldn't they show us Drogon burning the ships? I feel like HBO's budget for Game of Thrones is showing here and there the fact that we really don't get sort of what we're expecting a lot of the times. Next week, with the Battle of the Bastards, I think they've hopefully saved some money for a really awesome battle. But there have been a number of times, like Stannis' charge on Winterfell, which was good, but it was a lot of CG, obviously. And the scene with the mountain, tonight, we've been waiting all season to see Cersei say, "I choose violence," and we think the mountain's going to tear through 50 guys. He kills one guy. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't change her situation at all. You're waiting for the mountain to go right into the sept and kill everyone, and maybe that's still coming. But I think that "I choose violence" line was so built up on our minds that it was a letdown what happened. It was cool to see the mountain rip a guy's head off. Don't get me wrong, but I think it was a little bit disappointing that he didn't kill all of them. So the main storyline here today is Arya. I have gone back and forth. If you've been watching my videos, I've been going back and forth on is she Arya Stark or is she no one? I even bought into the theory that Arya was the waif and it was some kind of a Tyler Durden Fight Club kind of battle happening in her mind. But they went with the Hollywood ending, the straight kind of, I would say normal storyline where she had to get out of Westeros for a while. They had to take her piece off the board for a few years. And instead of just not showing her, they had her toy with becoming a faceless man, following the many-faced god, being an assassin, and she definitely learned how to fight. She learned a lot about the world and about herself, and at the end of the day, she was running from her identity as Arya Stark, but her time with Jaqen, and fighting against the waif, and her time blind in the streets, just taught her who she is, and she finally accepts her identity. She's got Needle. She is Arya Stark of Winterfell, and she's going home. And she paid the debt to the many-faced god. That's why Jaqen let her go, other than the fact that she had, Needle to his chest. But he did not seem intimidated by her anyway. But she paid the debt back, putting the waif's face, really great image, on the wall there, with the blood coming down, and she gouged out the eyes again. I guess that's sort of her trademark at this point. But Jaqen accepts that the debt is paid. A girl is Arya Stark, and he's letting her go. And I think that they part even. There's no debt anymore between those two. So now she's coming back to Westeros, and how she's going to fit into the story, I cannot imagine. When she gets back, there's a lot that she's missed. Hopefully she gets back in time to see Jon and Sansa sitting in Winterfell, sipping mead, and Rickon's playing in the yard, like with ghosts. I mean, that's the dream. Next week, if Ramsay kills more than one Stark, I don't know that my heart can take it. I don't expect at all that Rickon, Sansa, and Jon all survive next week, but I hope he doesn't take more than one of them. I think the obvious choice is Jon, that he gives his life to get Winterfell back, and then he's the fight's out of him. He didn't even want to come back the first time, and he's made it very clear he does not want to be brought back again. That was the curse that Alistair Thorne sort of, I don't want to say placed on him, but reminded him was already placed on him, that he will never be able to stop fighting. So I think it's more interesting from a character perspective if Jon, he keeps getting brought back and he keeps being forced to fight again and again and again. Beric Dondarrion does it willingly. He seems like he loves it, but Jon doesn't want to do it. So I think that would be, you know, payment enough that he has to keep fighting this war until it's over, until the end of season 8, when, you know, when the main storylines wrap up. But I could accept it if Ramsay, you know, skins Rickon. It's going to be horrendous. But I could accept it as long as Sansa and Jon live, or if Jon falls in battle. If Sansa can, you know, hug her brother Rickon one more time, that would be great. But if he kills all... okay, let me say this. If at the end of next week, if Ramsay Bolton still is the Warden of the North and holds Winterfell, I think I'm done with the show. Because it's not fun. I feel like what they did with Arya, saying, I'm Arya Stark of Winterfell and I'm going home, that was at least like a happy moment. It was a little fan service for people who are still rooting for the Starks. And there's a lot of hatred for the Starks, and, you know, in a lot of social media. There's a lot of backlash. Some people don't like the Starks. But, like it or not, they're the heroes of this story. And they're the ones that we're trying to root for. I mean, who are you rooting for? Jaime Lannister? I don't know. So, next week is, of course, is it actually called Battle of the Bastards? I'm not sure if that's the exact title. I'll have to look it up, but that's what everyone's calling it. I will be traveling next week. I will not be at my home computer, so I'm going to try to watch it on HBO Go and then do a quick just review on my phone. There won't be an intro or anything like that, but at least we'll stay up to date. And then I'll be back home for the finale, episode 10, and I just want to leave on this note. I feel like there's so many plot threads and so much for them to do that it's disappointing to me that if they're skipping ahead too fast and they're wrapping things up too quickly. I almost wouldn't have minded if HBO took a year off from the show. So I looked it up, and next week is actually Battle of the Bastards, so we will see you then. It's going to be a big episode, and a lot of fates hang in the balance on that one. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you next week. See, I'm over here, I'm trying to get this glare off the screen here, but that's actually candles from it was on the show. I can't do anything about it.